So, is everybody back? Sergeant Cologne, Sergeant Perez?
Yep, I'm here.
Roger.
Okay. And I did send an email to First Sergeant Hall. Hopefully he'll get back to us, just kind of get some clarification on some questions. So if anyone does have any additional questions while we're going over this. There we go. We're going to go through this. And then we will go right into going into the Army interview. And our phone call Army interview with Sergeant Perez and Sergeant Cologne. Sergeant French and myself will grade Sergeant Harrington as well if he gets a chance to log on. So get my record on here. Perfect. All right. All right. So again, we're going to review building a plan. All right. Again, going to build a plan in support of the ROP. I got 8% on this, like always. 45 minutes to build a plan. So here is the rubric. It's gonna be familiar with the rubric. Know what's on the rubric is going to be what's going to help you get through this event. Station commander is going to give you a lot of guidance, a lot of information, but knowing what they're looking for is always going to be what kind of helps you sort through what they are asking and what they're telling you. So you have 45 minutes to complete a 1-week plan. Senate ROP will be provided. We will review that. And these are just some of the regulations that go over that. So what happened? You're given a brief by the station commander. Also going to be one of the graders. There'll be a couple of graders out there. You're going to be given a 4856, which you will not look at until after you're given the brief and the instructions from the station commander. You are allowed to ask questions, and you are given a scratch piece of paper. So while you're given the brief from the station commander, you are taking notes, and you'll be building on an ARC sterilized computer. So that's always adds a element of suspense and excitement. So again, these ARC computers, they're not your personal computer. You're building on the ARC train system, and it is not perfect. So the way we did it last year is once you built your plan, you raised your hand. We saved all of the days that you built, and then we graded them so that we made sure they didn't disappear or somehow deleted themselves. Again, you get a brief, just explain the event, and then you'll be given the station commander brief. If there are any errors in the system or it does lock up, that time will not be penalized against you. A separate stopwatch is used to keep track of that time. And you will be allowed to ask any questions. So again, if you get questions now, make sure you keep track of them. Because those could be questions that are asked before the actual event as well to get clarification going into the event. So this is the example of the developmental counseling, the 4856 that you'll be given. So they change it every year. So this won't be the exact counseling that you get going into the event, but this is just an example so that you have something to kind of base your training and practice on. So again, you will be given a brief. You'll be able to take as many notes as you need to, ask as much question you can. Usually the response you get, though, from asking the questions will be a little vague. You were given office hours and dates for specific events. I built those into my plan first, and then added into my schedule the prospecting into the plan afterwards. Then I filled in the rest of the plan with everything that was required. For myself, I didn't have any free time in my plan at all. All my hours, they kind of butted up right into each other. And there was just no gaps. I know Sergeant Sulkers, when he explains it, he had gaps in his. and none of his wasn't perfect. But as long as you hit all the required tasks within the rubric, you are going to be good to go, and we will discuss what they are in a moment. So with this, things to take away. Know what week you're in. So you'll be briefed on what week you're in, whether you're in T2, T1, week 1, or week 2. And that's going to be important for knowing what your weekly requirements are for both makes, conducts, and what your test requirements are, because that will have to be built into your plan as you're building your plan. All right. Also knowing which zip codes that you're supposed to be focused on for your weekly prospecting and what your targeted schools are. So I know I went over a lot of stuff. Do you have any questions so far?
Negative.
No.
Okay. So plan of action. One of the questions I asked Sergeant Hall, he hasn't been able to get back to me yet though, is just to get clarification. I know that I think last year he clarified that this is your weekly plan of action, even though we know the counseling does say it is a monthly counseling. The plan of action is for weekly. So you will build this 2X school classroom presentations weekly, a career day, and there are sporting events at these schools, and all this stuff need to be built into your weekly plan. So there's a lot of stuff in here, but it didn't need to be built into your weekly plan, and that was clarified in last year's plan of action, but that could also be something that is clarified in the station commander brief. So when that is brought up, that could be a question they ask the station commander. Does all this stuff need to be included into your weekly plan of action? But some of the stuff, is kind of self-explanatory, like your target zip codes need to be identified, and that'll be part of your station commander brief. And some of the stuff is kind of generic as well. So as station commanders, I'm hoping that you guys know how to build a plan, but we are going to go over it step by step because maybe you're not super familiar with it. So recruiter zone. All right. It's going to be the same type of recruiter zone. Hopefully it hasn't changed too much since I built these slides. But here you go. Again, you're going to build your requirements off of your counseling, knowing which week that you're in. So again, you will be briefed that you're going to be in T2, T1, week 1, week 2, and your counseling will be what they're looking at to grade you upon. So when you put in your makes, your plan makes, make sure you spread them out. You could do them all in one day.
Hey, Sergeant.
Yeah.
So it's just a week of prospecting plan, right? So we're not gonna do one for T2, T1, week 1, and week 2. But they'll tell us just one.
Correct. It's one week's worth of prospecting. That is
Okay.
correct.
Right.
So you're just building, this, the week that you're there, or the following week, he'll give you the exact dates that he's looking for you to build. So make sure you listen to that. So if you're saying, hey, look, we're looking for you to build next week's prospecting plan, the 14th through the 18th. All right. Part of that, if you look at if you have your rubric out in front of you, hopefully you do. You're going to have to build that plan and then make sure you submit it. So you're going to build a plan and then hit submit. Last year, a lot of people weren't submitting their plan. And this year, that's an automatic no-go for not submitting your plan. So make sure that you submit your plans this year. So you'll build your plan, you build your daily plan, fill it all out. Make sure you have your prospecting goals in there. Annotate appointment goals. That's number 6, and build that off of your 4856. So if it's T1, you put 1 GA for Monday, 1 GA for Tuesday, 1 SA for Wednesday, one essay for Thursday, and then bam, you've hit your appointment made goals. But make sure you put the prospecting in there supported based off of what your station commander brief has out there for you. So you'll also be given events that you need to do. So you'll be told that you need to schedule a career day at Tech Wire Area School District. I guess that's a high school. That's in the school for this RSID. So when you build it in there, yesterday I was asked if the number of students participating is something that's agreed upon. I mean, it's not. That's an estimated thing in there, so you can put really whatever you want, unless it's part of the brief. If this year they're saying, hey, there will be 15 students participating or 35 students participating, that could be something they're looking for. I don't foresee that, but I mean, just be aware of what they're saying and put the, make sure you're taking notes and putting what they say in there. But if you're unfamiliar with building events, make sure that you are you're getting in there, put in the schools that they say that you're supposed to be prospecting in, what the subject is, whether it's table setup or whatever. It's a prospecting event or admin event. They'll tell you to do one or the other. Make sure that the event is for the day that you are prospecting for, because some of the days may default to the day that you're on, not the day that you're trying to build for. So be aware of that. The worst thing is building a event for the wrong day and then not knowing what happened to the event that you just built it for and wasting all that time, because you do only have the 45 minutes to build your whole week. So you don't want to waste time building events and then losing them. And then save them to the calendar or save them to add in more events. So if you're building your events based off of your outline that you wrote down on scratch paper, make sure you save it or save more events so you can keep on going. Yesterday I was asked too if we can build them as recurring events. If you are building recurring events, you can absolutely do that. Just make sure that you submit the plan once they are all built in there. Any questions about that?
Negative.
Great. Prospecting activities. So you can't build recurring event prospecting activities. So yeah, go in there and start building them. The question was asked yesterday about the attempts planned per hour. And I got to get back to you on the regulation that covers that. But we were talking about 25 for a telephone call. So when you're doing your telephone prospecting, it's 25, right? What's changed this year is that you can only do one zip code per prospecting event. So when I went through, I did all the target zip codes per prospecting event. So all my target zip codes, I just threw right in there for each event. This year you can only do one. So you've seen there, Washington High School, focus on this zip code. Smithfield College, focus on this zip code. You can't just throw them all in there. So that's something to be cautious of. Make sure you're targeting you have all your targeted zip codes in all your prospecting events. So when you're doing all your prospecting events, make sure all your targeted zip codes are hit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for the appointment makes, the plan appointment makes.
Yeah.
Are we gonna put all of that week's appointments into one, like I saw there, because it says 2 and 2, or are we gonna divide those throughout the week?
You can, but make sure you have the prospecting to support it. Okay. Now, in this scenario, the prospecting supports it. So you got 2 hours of telephone call prospecting, 2 hours of grad prospecting. That's that. I can make the argument that supports it. But make sure that you have the prospecting that supports the planned appointments made. Otherwise, the appointment goals aren't going to support your prospecting. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And we won't get penalized. For example, if we do 1-on-1 on Monday, 1-on-1 on Tuesday, and we add some extra ones for the rest of the week.
Yeah. So there's nothing on here saying you can't add appointments to it. Right. But you must at least hit your appointment goals, which are whatever is listed on here.
Too easy. Okay. My bad if I'm asking too much questions. I just want to make sure.
No, that's why we're here. That's why we're here.
I think I asked more yesterday, so that's all good.
Yeah, and I'm trying to cover the
All right,
questions that you asked yesterday as well. Yeah, that's part of this because like I said, we didn't record it yesterday. I want to make sure that we have this covered for everyone that wasn't here yesterday. So accessing the electronic printing we got covered. Prospecting events we have covered. Annotate the events. Annotate frequency of prospecting methods. Zip codes we covered. Appointment goals we covered. Okay, so next we're going to the appointment goals. Appointment information correctly. So when we're talking about appointment information, when you're building your appointments, you have to annotate whether the appointments are grads, seniors. So when you're building your appointments, and I don't have a good slide on that, because it's kind of a new update as well. You have to update whether your appointments are going to be grads, seniors, and that's going to be also given in your station commander brief. So during your station commander brief, you're going to say you have an appointment with Beverly Green. That's going to be needed up here on Friday at, we'll say 12 o'clock. And she is a grad. So you have to make sure you put in here Beverly Green, appointment initial, grad, and put it in there. So it will be built as an other, because if you build as appointment initial, guess what you gotta do? You gotta build all that information in there, and that's gonna eat up time. Or they'll tell you exactly how they want you to build it, so it doesn't, break the test system, because they might want you to build it as a lead in there. I don't know. But they will tell you how to build the appointments in there, so it keeps going. The system lets you continue forward. So they will want you to annotate how the ed codes for all the appointments that you're building. Whether Beverly Green's a grad, Beverly Green's a senior, that will be important. So putting the applicant appointment information correctly, like the date, time, and education code, will be important for all these appointments. Also, when your appointments, you're taking a test, that will be important as well. They will say that you'll have a tester on Wednesday at 3 o'clock at the, Fort Knox Met site, and you'll have to put that in there. What type of tester, you have to have all that information in there. Another thing that is new this year that wasn't on there last year is the AR, that you must have AR in there for 30 minutes, or no longer than 30 minutes each day. So they'll tell you that you're going to do an AR for 30 minutes in the morning or 30 minutes at night, and that must be in there each day. Or they'll tell you what days you do the AR. They might say you're doing ARs Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 30 minutes at 9 o'clock, and Tuesday, Thursday, 30 minutes at 1700. So just be conscious of that. And then your recruiter remarks addressing your goals. So it'll say annotate recruiting NCO comments addressing overall goal of plan. So when you go in here, focus on your target zip codes, your appointments that you're conducting, whether they're grads, seniors. Make sure that's filled out for each day as well. And then bottom line, make sure your plan's submitted for each day, because that will be something that will be graded on as well.
Question.
Yes.
When it comes to building the hypothetical appointment that you have, right? So I guess is the order irrelevant? Can you build a day, then add the appointment so it counts it towards the appointment? It doesn't matter.
They will give you some guidance on that, because it's a train system, it may act funny how you build the appointment in there. So they will tell you how to build the appointment. They might have you build it as like an event, like an other event. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So they'll give you guidance on that, because if you build it as an appointment initial, it's going to make you look for a name and all that good stuff, right? And if it's not built in there, it can kind of break the system. So if they're making it another activity, you'll be able to fill out all the other information in there. So you'll build it as another activity, appointment initial with, with Beverly Green, on the 25th, and then you can put it wherever as long as you have it listed as a grad in the remarks section someplace in here. But they will go over that a little bit more in detail. At least they did last year. They went over in detail exactly how they wanted it built in there so that you would get credit for it. And you just have to listen to how they told you to do that. Does that make sense? Because it is a trained system, so they do have to kind of give you some additional guidance, and you just have to listen to how they're doing that. Is that too confusing?
I'm trying.
No,
Okay. Yeah, so there are some workarounds that they do develop for you guys, and that's one of them, because just building the appointment in there, and who knows, maybe this year they do want you to build the appointments in there, which, if you're just building the appointment, it doesn't take too much time, but you do have to kind of get used to building it in the train system. So if you don't have any more questions about that, also within the slide deck, there are some practical exercises here. So you can work at just kind of building the, this is from like the schoolhouse examples. So you'll be told that you need to build PRT from 06 to 07, station train from 0830 to 930 to evaluate conversion data. You'll be told that you need to schedule future soldier PRT at a certain time. You'll have a luncheon with your student's parent, with your son's parents. You're gonna have a luncheon with your son's school. There you go. On a certain day, a certain time. You need to make 50 phone calls, and this is an example of what the brief is you'll get from the station commander before, and this is stuff that you'll be writing down to build into your plan afterwards. So, and there's more examples within the notes section of the slide deck of stuff that you'll be told to write in there, and if you need examples of stuff to practice on. Again, I'll upload these slide deck, and this slide deck is already uploaded into the file section. We'll go over that at the end of the day too, how to access all these slide decks, so you can review them and go over them. But if you don't have any other questions about this, we are going to go into the phone call and Army interview. Does anyone have any other questions about this?
Negative, not.
No, good to go.
So let's stop this.